mini lesson. I'm going to go through 12-bar blues again. This time we're going to look more rhythm playing. We're going to look at ways to vary the chords that you're using in order to create some melodic interest in the part. For this, I'm going to use kind of more of a funky feel to it, say in B flat. Now, I'm going to take two kind of bass chord shapes here. I've got this with the root on the 6th string. I've got it very, very similar to this 7 chord without the 5th string and the 1st string in there. I'm taking out the redundancies so that it can voice lead a little bit better. So with this, I've got root, flat 7, 3, 5. Right, now for the next chord, for the 4 and the 5 chord, I'm going to use the 9 chord, or 7, 9. Here again, I'm not playing the 1st string on this, at least not intentionally. So here I've got the root, the 3rd, flat 7, and 9. So once again, my chord for the 1, my chord for the 4 and the 5. And so with this, I'm going to play through kind of a funky blues. Using just these chords, I might get something that sounds kind of like this. Alright, pretty cool on its own. But if I were to create a little bit more melodic interest with this, a bunch of things I could do, but a fairly simple thing I can do without getting into learning a whole bunch of new voicings is to simply move the top note of the chord around. Now, if I start doing this, in an isolated context, we get some pretty jazz-sounding chords. So if I take the first one, and if I drop that highest note down a half step, I get what's called a 7 sharp 11 chord. If I move it up a half step, I get what's called a 7 flat 13, sometimes called an augmented 7 chord. If I move it up another half step, I get a 7 13 chord. Again, on their own pretty jazzy sounding chords. At the 9 chord, again I got the 9 in the top here. If I move it down a half step, I get the flat 9. If I move it up a half step, I get the sharp 9 chord, which is often called the Hendrix chord. Alright, so again, to go through all these possibilities with the first chord, there it is kind of by itself. Sharp 11, 13, flat 13. Now here's the 9 chord, flat 9, sharp 9. Alright, so I'm going to mix these up a little bit again to kind of create a more melodic line as I'm playing through this funk blues. So one idea, a bunch of different ways you can go through this. But try playing around, moving that high note around, come up with some interesting new chord voicings, new melodic lines that kind of carry the rhythm part a little bit better.